How is the challenge going for everyone?
Oh, not good for me. I had to drop out after week 1 for some health issues,
Oh,
so I'll
no.
get back at it.
Oh,
I'll get back
no.
at it. I'll be fine.
Yes, you'll have the recording of everything. So that'll,
Yeah, yeah.
um, are you, I hope you're not too, is it sick or like something got hurt?
It's something with my heart. I
Oh,
had to have a
no.
heart procedure, so it's coming along. I'll be, hopefully it's going to take care of everything and I'll be fine. I have to keep my heart rate down below 100.
Wow. Oh, man, that makes it very difficult then.
Yeah, I have to go slow and I start doing stuff over my head.
Right, gets up
Yeah.
pretty quickly.
Right. I don't know why I don't have a camera. Why don't I have a camera?
I had to restart.
Oh, there we go.
I went on vacation and,
There I
and
am.
my challenge went away.
It went away. Oh, because you're on vacation.
It went away because I didn't do it. I mean,
Oh.
so I was on vacation Wednesday through Tuesday. So, and yesterday I went to my dance class, so I didn't do it either. And I haven't done it yet, so I'm going to try to do some tonight. But I'm hoping that tomorrow oh my gosh, I just need more more of a routine. So like, you know, walk my dogs, do the workouts.
Yeah.
That's so
Because
helpful.
if I start leaving it for later, for when I have time, it never gets done.
Right.
So, but the few ones that I did, I really like.
Oh,
but
good.
I need to get back to them.
Where did you go on vacation?
I went to Puerto Peñasco, Mexico.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's in this in the Sea of Cortez. So
Wow,
so you know, I just went there for a few days and it was really fun. But I mean, I swam a lot and I also ran on the beach. So I mean, I worked out a little bit, but I didn't do the challenge.
That's okay. I mean, running on the beach, you can't really top that, right?
Yeah, that is nice, and it's an effort, but it's also so nice.
Yeah.
I won't talk anymore.
Oh no, I'm so chatty, so I love it when people are chatty.
Okay.
But let's jump in. Let's dive right into the macronutrient part of our challenge and coming up with nutrition. Does anybody know anything about macronutrients, or is it like starting fresh?
I had, when I worked with a personal trainer from 2010 to 2018, he had me on 100 grams of protein. No, 80 grams of protein, no more than 100 grams of carbs, and then whatever else.
For years, did it change?
Not a lot. Well, and he had me on 1,200 calories. So,
oh, for 8 years, 1,200 calories.
Well, he tried, but yeah, it didn't do anything.
That's not enough calories.
It's not, and everything has a season. You know, you shouldn't live at 1,200 for 8 years.
Yeah, well, it didn't a lot of the time, but
good. Well, I'm going to talk to you about why we track macronutrients and why I chose macronutrients. So I'm became certified as a nutritionist, but macronutrients worked for me, and what I know to be has worked the best in terms of keeping your muscle while also in a calorie deficit and also building muscle. So I know a lot about other diets that I don't think work very well, but I think that macronutrients helps you learn your body in a much better, more sustainable way, because it's so flexible and there's nothing that you can't have. Because tell me I can't have something and I'm going to eat all of it. Yeah, that's just not happening. So I have a presentation, basically just a slide. So we're going to go through that. Interrupt me if you have any questions. I'm going to put you on mute, but feel free to unmute yourself to talk to me. Okay. I'm going to share my screen. Everybody see it? Give me a thumbs up. Perfect. Okay. So first slide. Any diet will make you lose weight, at least temporarily, as long as you are in a calorie deficit. So that just means if you eat fewer calories than you take in, you will lose weight. There's better ways to do it than some, but any diet will work if you're eating fewer calories than, or you're working out or eating fewer calories than you're taking in. That's just the magical science of losing weight, right? So this is ways that it's not super sustainable. So if you're a clean eater and you reach a plateau, what can you do to end the plateau? Can you eat cleaner than clean? No. If you eliminate sugar and you hit a plateau, can you take away more sugar? No. And then doing more cardio is just an insane way to lose all the weight. You just start eating your muscle away because it needs substance to burn. And then not eating late at night kind of eventually goes to not eating at all, right? Because then your time clock just keeps going back. Restriction rarely works long term, and people usually abide by arbitrary diet rules for a week or two, maybe even a month, and then they fall off the wagon because it's restriction, and restriction doesn't work well for anybody. You also risk attributing weight loss to a diet rule rather than the calorie deficit that diet rule instills, right? So, which is why we went through eating clean. You can't eat cleaner. Okay. So, moving on to the macronutrients. There's 3 of them. There's protein, there's carbohydrates, and fats. All of them are important. Nobody can say neither of them are important, or either like don't eat carbs, don't have fats, which was like a very 90s thing. Don't have fat, very low fat. Ugh, that was a nightmare. Okay, so 1 gram of protein is 4 calories. 1 gram of carbohydrates is 4 calories, and 1 gram of fat is 9 calories. Okay, so proteins are the building blocks of muscle. We know that. A protein is a large molecule in our foods that is made up of a chain of amino acids. Adequate protein intake helps to build muscle, but also prevents muscle loss when a diet results in a calorie deficit. It satisfies your appetite, staves off hunger better than fats or carbs because it helps you stay fuller longer. This is so true when you start eating higher in protein. Suddenly, you don't need to snack as much. You're just not grabbing for all the sugary, carby things. Not that you can't have them, but you just don't want them as much because you're full from protein. Protein is the most important macronutrient since a high protein diet is extremely effective for maintaining muscle while in a caloric deficit and adding muscle mass while in a caloric surplus. Deficit means like cut, low calories. Surplus is high, eating above what you need to take in order to like your daily function amount of calories. So amino acids are the building blocks of all proteins, from the proteins found in cheese to the proteins that make up the muscles in your abs. Basically, when you eat a lot of protein-rich foods, you have a bunch of amino acids floating around in your bloodstream from those dietary sources. This enables your body to use those readily available aminos for building muscle or for other bodily functions instead of breaking down muscles elsewhere in your body to get them. That's one important thing that people don't think about, is you need a certain amount of amino acids or proteins to just use in your bodily functions day to day. So if you do not eat more than what you need just to run, then you're not able to build muscle. And if you eat less than what you need in order to run, your body eats its muscle. So, all right, this goes to carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are any of a large group of organic compounds occurring in foods, including sugars, starch, and cellulose. Carbs are stored in the liver, kidneys, and muscles as glycogen. It's basically your energy source. The rest of the calories in your diet, whether you're cutting is calorie deficit, bulking, terrible word, but it just means eating more calories to put on muscle, or maintaining, and that means you're staying the same. You don't want to lose weight, you don't want to gain weight, but you gain tons of muscle in this magical gray area. I love maintenance. So carbs are your body's go-to source for energy, and they also help support recovery. Carbohydrates are necessary for the production of leptin, or a hormone that regulates your appetite and metabolism. So when people tend to like really go low on calories or carbohydrates, you have no energy, your sleep tanks, you have a very low sex drive because those are in your hormones. This is why carbs are so necessary. You need them for your energy and hormone regulation. Same with fats. Fats belong to a group of substances called lipids and come in liquid or solid form. All fats are a combination of saturated and or unsaturated fatty acids. That is an essential nutrient that our bodies require in order to live. It assists in vitamin absorption, which is like, why did we take away all the fats in the 90s? Hormonal regulation, and brain function. So if you're going through menopause, or if you have hypothyroidism or Hashimoto's or any sort of thing that affects your hormones, you need more fats. And this is where people like to cut the fats, but this is where you need more of them to help you absorb your vitamins and regulate your hormones. They get a bad rap, but they are vital for your health. A fat-free diet will trigger hormone imbalances since fats are necessary for hormone production. And for most people who want to lose weight, setting your daily fat macro as low as possible while still consuming enough to maintain hormone regulation is preferable. However, for someone who does no physical activity or has hormonal issues like PCOS or thyroid disease, lower carbs and higher fat ratios typically produce better results. People don't know that, but this is so true. I have a lot of people, a lot of my clients who are going through menopause, and I put them at higher fats and they automatically freak out. And it's like, oh, but you need it. Oh, but you need it. Trust me on this. All right, so why do we track? Tracking macros allows us to ensure you are getting the right nutrient proportions for you and your exact goals. As each macro plays its own role, we want to make sure we are getting ample amounts of each. For example, someone who is just trying to live a healthy lifestyle may not need as much protein as someone who is actively trying to build muscle. The personalization behind macro proportions will be the biggest game changer for your goals. Also, it changes as your goals change, as your body composition changes, your equation should change as well, or your, basically your equation, which is why it was silly that you had the same one for 8 years. Eating protein stimulates muscle protein synthesis, which is what we always want. The body cannot store amino acids for later use. This is a big one that people don't understand. So if you do not hit your protein count in one day, it does not like hang on at all. So if you're like, oh, I super ate a lot of protein in one day, it doesn't carry over. It wipes the slate clean every single day. And so you also need to get the amount that your body needs every single day. And then on top of it, to hit your other goals like building muscle. Fat is the most caloric dense macronutrient, so we want to have enough of it to be healthy, but not so much that it takes away significant amounts of daily carbs and protein. Carbs are protein sparing, meaning that if you eat sufficient carbs daily, all protein can be broken down into amino acids for use, as opposed to being turned into glucose for energy. Weird. Okay, what am I talking about? If you get enough carbs on board, then you're using the carbs as energy and not your protein as energy. So you want your protein to stay on your body, use as bodily functions, and to build muscle. But if you don't get enough carbs, the protein goes towards the energy that you need to run your body, to wake up, to pick up your kids from school, to do the grocery, whatever it is, your body starts taking that protein instead of using carbs for that. So that's another slash against no carbs. Basically more fat slows the absorption of gastric emptying. So we use fat strategically at meals depending on goals for the meal. For example, we do not want to use a high fat meal or whatever you're eating after your workout. Don't eat a lot of fat because it prohibits the delivery of nutrients to your tissues. Conversely, fat is a great option for meals at other times of the day away from your workouts because it will help you feel satiated and stay fuller longer. What are you doing, crazy boy? What? You made a pumpkin?
Yeah, and he's a off wind. And we draw things on it.
Oh, very good.
And to make it off wind.
Oh, really? Thanks for sharing. Okay, so carbs are the best energy source during exercise. So quick digesting carbs are a focus in pre, just means before your workout, intra or during a workout, and post workout. And quick carbs would be like a rice cake or oatmeal or cereal, even something that burns quickly, that hits your bloodstream quickly and isn't like a vegetable or something that takes a long time to digest. That also upsets your stomach while you're working out. Fats can be turned into glucose, which is energy. Oh, this is just talking about the same thing I just said. No, we don't need to keep talking about that one. Okay, so how do I set my own macros? Everybody get a piece of paper ready. If you want to get a calculator and a pen, we're going to go through this. So I'm going to take you on how, basically the equation I use when I'm setting my, the equation for my clients. But I also take into consideration like any sort, like menopause or any sort of thing like that. So it gets more personalized when I'm going through it with a person. But this is kind of the general way that we set. Again, keep in mind that this equation should change, especially if it's not feeling good to you. If you're like, there is no way I can function with this amount of carbs. This is what you do. Adjust your carbs. Take it up a little bit, which means you have to take your fat down a little bit. If you're struggling or if you have any sort of stomach or digestion problems, then you may want to bring your protein down and take your carb intake up in the form of like fibrous material. You'll start to learn what works for your body, and that I think is super important. Okay, so the first one, your total daily energy expenditure. So we're estimating this. What you want to do is remember, in order to lose weight, you must create a caloric deficit. Once you figure out how many calories you burn in a normal day, you can adjust the amount of calories you consume each day based on the body composition goals. So either we're going losing weight, taking on less calories, you're staying the same by the TDE is your maintenance calories, or if you want to bulk and put on some muscle, then you would eat more than this number. So your TDEE is your current weight multiplied by A, and this is your activity level. So if you do low intensity training, you would be an 8. If you do moderate intensity training, 9. If you are a high intensity person, and that's not, it's like intensity, but also like duration and how many days. If you work out 7 days a week, twice a week, if you're like an Olympic athlete, you would be a 10. It doesn't mean like I work out so hard in my 45-minute workout 3 times a week, that kind of thing. Middle of the road would be 9. So I would say 4 times a week for an hour, you would be a 9. If you're anything under that, you are probably an 8. So that number plus the average number of training hours in a week. So how many hours in total are you working out? You're going to take your current weight times, let's just say 8 plus I work out 4 hours. So 12. And that is your TDEE when you multiply it. if you have any questions on that, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask.
Okay, so my 8,
Mhm.
so 8 plus 5 is 13. So I multiply by 13.
Yep, you do your
Okay,
current weight times 13.
all right. Plus 5. All right. Oh, wow. Okay.
So this is how many calories you burn in a typical day. This is just like what you do in a day. If that makes sense, your TDE. TDEE.
So that's just normal daily activity
Yep.
plus my exercise.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Do you mind to say that equation again?
Sure.
Where- So current weight times your activity level, then plus your average workout hours.
So
It's just
figure
gonna be
out
like a
your
plus.
activity level plus your training hours first. So if you're like a 3-day a week, maybe 4-day a week, but pretty intensely, it would be 8 plus the number of hours you usually work out in a week.
Oh, and that's what you're multiplying
Yeah.
against your weight. Oh, okay.
Yep.
I missed that.
That's
Thank you.
okay. All right, and then we're going to figure out our goals. So if you're in a cut, which is a calorie deficit, you want to lose weight. Maintenance is keeping everything the same. Bulk or build, scary word, just meaning put on some muscle. What happened to my 13? Don't know. Okay.
April, I
Yeah.
have a question.
Sure.
So can you cut and bulk at once, or do you have to lose weight first and then bulk?
Correct. Well, it depends. You can either bulk first, like put on a ton of muscle and then do a cut. And that's when you see all the muscles that you built. Or you can cut, which is you can't really build a ton of muscle while you're in a caloric deficit. You can build a little bit, but your body doesn't have enough to build with. So it's not going to be a huge change, if that makes sense.
It makes sense. What do you prefer with your clients?
So this is what happens. Most people are coming to me and they're like, I want to lose weight. So what happens when you bulk and you build is you do get a little bit, you take on a little bit of fat with it. And some people are turned off by that. They're like, I'm gaining weight, I'm gaining weight. But that is the point, because you need to gain weight in order to build muscle. But then once you've reached, like, you're usually only in a bulk or a build for 2 to 3 months. And then once you've built some muscle, you go into a cut, you slash those calories, which are, so let's say your build or your bulk calories is 2,200. Guess how many you have to take to cut or lose weight? 2,100. You only have to lose a little, you know what I mean? It's just a little bit less. So that part is awesome, because you're not having to dip to 1,200 calories or something. You're already up here building, and then in order to lose weight, you just have to go a little bit. It could be 1,800 calories, and then the fat goes quickly after a bulk or a build, because you've built muscle, and muscle burns fat a lot faster.
That's a very hard concept to grasp.
It is. Yeah.
It is super hard. I've always been turned off by working with the personal trainer, and you're not the first person who tells me that. It's like you have to gain weight. And it's like, no, I have a lot of weight here. I want to get rid of it.
You can build muscle at maintenance. You can stay at maintenance for a while, get really consistent at hitting your calorie and your protein count without like a weight fluctuation. If you kind of just stay the same, you will build some muscle. And then when you go into a super cut to get really leaned out, maybe before summer or something, there will be some muscle to show for it, which is great.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about a cut, which is losing weight. Set your calorie goals. If your goal is to lose weight, there are 3 ways to create a caloric deficit. Increase your movement, decrease your intake, or do a little bit of both simultaneously. A good caloric deficit restricts your diet only enough to force your body to burn stored fat, but not enough to interfere with the muscle recovery and growth, which is just the building. A severe caloric deficit may cause you to lose weight faster, which is what a lot of people do, but some of that lost weight will inevitably be lean muscle mass. Instead, if you stick with a moderate caloric deficit, you'll maximize fat loss while minimizing muscle loss. That's the magic right there. I have found that a deficit around 20% is ideal. This means you'll consume about 20% fewer calories than you burn each day. So to set your calories for a cut or to lose weight, take your total daily, and that number we just found, the TDEE, and we're going to multiply that times 0.8. And that equals the number of calories you need for fat loss. You can dip lower than that, but then you're risking losing muscle mass. This is to help keep your muscle on while you're losing weight. So it's going to be a slower loss, a slower weight loss, but it's going to keep on the muscle and maybe even let you build a little bit at the same time. Are we good to go? We'll talk about maintenance. Oh, this is bulking because maintenance is your TDEE. I think that's the next slide. Okay, so bulking would be when you're talking about intentionally gaining weight, we typically mean adding muscle to the body. So you have some things to think about. You must lift weights. In order for you to bulk, you must lift weights. Regardless of where you set your macros, if you aren't progressively overloading your body with resistance training, you won't gain muscle. So just by eating more, you won't gain muscle. You actually have to really lift weights. And you must eat enough. People who are new to weightlifting are able to put on muscle while in a caloric deficit, but eventually everyone gets to a point where increasing your daily calories slightly above maintenance is necessary to add muscle. What I suggest is first maximizing your muscle gains by eating at maintenance for as long as you are able to make progress with progress adding muscle. Only once you have maxed out those gains do I suggest moving from maintenance into a bulk. So this is just saying exactly what I said before. In a maintenance, you have what's called newbie gains because your body's not used to lifting weights and doing that progressive overload. So it will grow muscle without needing extra calories to do so. But that only works for so long. And then once you hit that plateau, you have to start eating more calories. Is anybody interested in bulking? Nope. Yes? Oh, yes. Okay. So when you first begin bulking, I recommend starting with the 5% calorie surplus and observing how your body responds over 3 to 4 weeks. Then you can add or subtract calories as needed, and you should gain about like 0.25 to 0.5 pounds per week. You don't want to put on a lot of weight quickly. You want to put on a little bit quickly. I mean, as you go, a little bit as you go.
It was more of a question. I mean, if you're like you're saying you must lift weights, but like I know that I cannot lift heavy weights right now.
Okay. Yeah.
So you're not saying lift heavy weights, you're saying lift weights, right?
Yes.
Okay.
You can progressively overload with lighter weights. You can always use things like tempo. You can make changes by adding rest times or playing with your rest times, taking away rest time. So you're just fatiguing the muscle super quickly. There's so many ways to use progressive overload and make that work for you. Do you have like a weight limit that is set on your spine or your body that you're worried about? Or you're just not feeling strong enough yet?
Yeah, I mean, I lifted heavier weights before, but from doing your challenge, I'm like, oh man, I'm just completely out of shape.
Right. Okay. But so what are you at? 2, 3 pounds?
I've been working with 3, 5, and 8s.
Oh yeah, that's perfect. You can definitely gain muscle with that that part.
And
So
I've been, that's basically what I've been using.
okay, that works. As long as you have a range as well. If you're only doing 2 pounds, it's really hard to progressively overload with your legs, just because it's not super heavy. And your legs can handle a lot. They carry you around all day. Okay, so maintenance is your TDE. I always forget the other E. This is a beautiful place to be in your journey, and there's still plenty to learn while just maintaining your weight. In fact, if you are consistent with your nutrition and macronutrient intake while maintaining, you can experience body recomposition where you simultaneously add muscle and lose fat. Body recomposition works primarily for those who are newer to weightlifting, which is great. It's magic. Maintenance, this is another thing you should do once you've been in a caloric deficit, or when you're like low calories for a long time. You should reverse up to your maintenance, even if you feel like you haven't hit your weight loss goal. I wouldn't recommend being in a caloric deficit for more than 4 to 5 months. People who do it for years at a time, that becomes your body's like number for TDEE, right? That because your body is getting used to consuming only, let's say it's 1100 calories. So it knows it's only going to get 1100 calories. So then that's all it's going to use, if that makes sense. So then
that's the problem I had.
Yeah. So then in order to lose weight, you have to go below that. And then your body starts going, gets very scared. Yep. So then reversing up would be just like adding some calories gradually, and you'll still lose weight, but then you'll find the maintenance number where you don't lose and you don't gain, and it's a safer number for building muscle and like body, the things that you need to function in the day.
Okay.
And energy, having energy, because when you're too low, you have no energy. Okay, so to set your protein target, when setting your macros for the day, aim for about 0.6 to 1.2 gram of protein per pound of current body weight. Your macros will be on the lower end of that range if you're significantly overweight, more than 40 pounds to lose. You'll set your protein macro on the upper end of that range if you are already lean but trying to get leaner, or if you're bulking and trying to add muscle. For most people with 10 to 20 pounds to lose, it works well to set your protein at 0.821 grams per pound of your current body weight. Tracking your week of normal intake will come in handy when you're establishing your daily macronutrient goals. Take a look at how much protein you normally eat. This is super important. If you're a vegetarian, or if you just normally eat around 40 grams of protein per day, then setting your protein goals at something like 160 grams a day is just setting yourself up for failure. If you aren't used to eating that much protein, it's fine to start on the lower end of the protein range and then increase over time. So if you're someone who eats only 40 grams, but this, like you do your math and you're at 160, don't go anywhere, like go at 100. And then as you're growing, like maybe every month, add 10 grams so that you get up to that ideal number. It's also hard to consume 160 grams of protein. Set yourself up for success. I like high protein because it keeps you so full and it helps you build muscle and keep the muscle that you have. It also curbs sugary stuff. So I like to keep it higher protein. Okay, to set your protein macros, take your protein, so your current body weight, multiply that by 0.6 to 1.2. So let's just all use the 0.821 unless you fall in the already lean category, because then it's like 1 gram of pound per pound of body weight. There we go. I got it. If you're already lean, I always recommend 1 gram per gram of body weight you are per pound. So let's say you're 134, you're really lean, then I would say 134 grams of protein, if that makes sense. If you're somebody who wants to lose 10 to 20 pounds, plug in your current body weight and multiply that by 0.821.
So for example, and I don't mind sharing,
Sure.
I weigh 155 right now, which
Okay.
is fine. I don't care about that. But I've got a lot of body fat.
Okay.
I'm at like 37, according to my scale, I'm at like 37% body fat.
So I would say, and what would you like your weight to be, if you don't mind me asking?
I don't mind where it is, 150, 150. I'm 5'8".
Okay.
So
I was gonna
I'm not
say, you don't
as
have a whole
concerned
lot
about
to lose.
that. I've been down a lot lower in years past, but at my
Okay, so
age,
what is let's see here, 155. Whoa.
comes out to 127 if I use your 821.
Okay. I would say as a person, if you were my client, I would at 130. That's where I would put it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
because I'm pretty close to Martha, I'm 159 and I come out at 130.
Okay. And
So-
do you have more what do you want to weigh?
Oh.
Are you in a deficit? You don't have to tell me. I mean, are you in a deficit? Do you have
Yes,
lots?
I'm watching what I eat
Okay.
constantly,
Okay.
but I'm not counting.
I would go with 130. 130 sounds great
Mhm.
for you guys. Okay, let's go to our fat. So fats are essential and we need them to live. So, all right. I suggest setting your fat macros around 0.25 to 0.3 grams per pound of current body weight for leaner individuals or for those who are significantly overweight. I suggest setting your fat macro as low as 0.2 grams per pound of current body weight if you're bulking or maintaining. So set your fat macros around 0.4 to 0.5 pounds of body weight. So I think this group would be about, I would say 0.3. So your current body weight times 0.3.
So mine comes out to 46.5.
That sounds about right. Yep.
Okay.
And I would just round it up
To 50 or to 47?
to 47.
Okay.
Okay, and then the carbs. This is where it gets a little tricky and needs a little bit more math. Okay, so the rest of the calories in your diet, whether you're cutting, bulking, or maintaining, will come from carbs. Carbs are your body's go-to source for energy, and they also help support recovery, which is super important. Carbohydrates are also necessary for the production of leptin, or hormone that regulates your appetite and metabolism. So you need to stoke the fire, which is your metabolism. To set your carb macros, take your total calories. Okay, wait, let's do this first. Your protein macros, so your protein, so let's say it's 130. So you would take 130 times 4, if that's what it is. So that's 520. And then you would add it to your fat macros times 9. So you had 47. 47 times 9. 423. So 520 plus 423. Add those two numbers together, which is 943. That, oh, sorry. And then the TDEE, that number, so you would take that number minus 943. What was your TDEE? Martha?
Mine was 2015.
Perfect. So 2000
Minus 943.
So that's 1072, right? 2015 minus 943. Okay, so
72.
now what you're going to do with that number is divide it by 4, because there's 4 grams or 4 calories in each gram of carbs. So your number of carbs is 268 grams.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Doesn't it feel like a lot? And so many people get worried about that number.
Oh my God.
The thing about that number is, what are carbs? Everybody jumps to cookies, pasta, rice, right? All of those other things. But what else is carbs? Your leafy vegetables, any vegetable, right? And then anything that's fiber. All the things you need to, oh, somebody else, everything that you need to help keep things moving. So what you're going to do with 268, with this equation, especially Martha, since we have your number, is you're going to do this for a week. If it starts feeling like, man, this is a lot of carbs, for you, I would move it to fats. I would move it a little bit to fats and then a little bit more to protein. So there's 4 grams of protein, or 4 calories per gram of protein, and 9 grams of calories. Oops, really, I've got like a echo. Ah, there we go. So as you're going, you can shift your number around. So this is not set in stone. This should be an experimental number, especially when you're new to it. Especially with my clients, I set, if they're like, if really intimidated by 268 and they're like, there's no way I can get that number, we initially shift it to fats. If that feels scary and you're like, I can't do it, then we're going to shift it to protein. So as we're taking on more protein, you're going to feel more full. And that part is good. It's going to also help you build muscle. But it's a little bit, if you track everything you eat for just a week without paying attention to macros, you'll see kind of where you lie calorie wise, protein wise, fats wise, and carb wise. And that'll help you go, oh man, I am not eating a protein at all. Or, oh man, I am.
Oh, I know I'm not eating enough protein.
Okay, so this will be a good experiment for you to just hit 130 grams of protein.
Okay.
And with my
So, Chris-
client, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, if you were to move it a little bit, because you just can't bring yourself to eat all those carbs,
Yep.
you would just go a little bit, you would go like, you would move 2 of those numbers to the fats, so your fats would go up by 2 or
Yep.
something like that.
Yep. Or you could, so is yours fats was at 47 as well?
48.
48. I would just say 50. I would
Okay.
say 50 grams of fats and then 132 grams of protein. I guess
Mhm.
maybe 135.
Mm-hmm.
135.
So then, that number, like 6 or 8, would come down from fats,
from carbs. Yep.
from carbs. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry.
The higher the protein, the better, considering your weight. So I would definitely not go anything over what you currently weigh. So if you're 155, I I would dance no further than 140. You don't want to get too close right away. Because then you're taking away the proper nutrients that your body needs from carbs and
Mhm.
fats.
Yeah, 238 sounds like so. That's what I came up with carbs, and it sounds
Yeah.
like a lot. But once I start counting consciously, maybe it's okay.
Yep.
Because if I'm not mistaken, if you eat an apple, which we probably shouldn't be eating so many apples, like berries, it would be better.
Yeah.
Those.
Berries are lower in sugar. That's another thing. Yeah. But
Mhm.
apples are great for fiber.
Okay. I've forgotten now how much those are now, but
The
anyway.
most carbs that you'll find for fruit is a banana.
Okay.
But they have really great potassium, which is great for like muscle cramping
Mm-hmm.
and recovery as well. So you just have to start to think about like, oh man, I eat a banana a day. So that's like 80. I don't have my phone next to me.
Mm-hmm.
If you start using MyFitnessPal, that's what I recommend using for your macros. Has anybody tried MyFitnessPal before?
Yeah.
I've used it for years.
Oh,
Yeah.
perfect.
And well, you probably can't see it. I just loaded mine in.
Your equation?
Yep. And it came out to 2015 calories.
Well,
Exactly.
that's amazing.
Yep.
And you know that you can set it to track just your macros, right?
Yes.
So then if you download MyFitnessPal, you can go to your profile, which kind of looks like this.
Mhm.
And then you would click on, is it nutrition? No, it changes.
There's set goals.
Yes,
or
goals.
Yeah.
So it looks like Target. It looks like a Target symbol. And then you can hit calorie, carbs, protein, and fat goals. And then you can put then your numbers right on the edge. What else? Calorie goals by meal. If you get the premium plan, which you pay for, I tried to do the non-premium plan for about 4 months, which was I use this a lot for calculating my client stuff. So then, because you can like plug in, I use meal plans, so I'm like plugging in food, and I'm like, oh yes, that's how many carbs. It's a little bit harder to do it without the premium plan because you can't set goals like calorie goals, and it doesn't count down, which is great. So this, if I go to a diary, it has your the calorie goal, but then as you plug in things, so let's say I'm doing eggs, yep, cheese, yep, you can see how it counts down, like what you ate, and then it'll count down up here. So it'll tell you what you have left at the top of the screen, which I think is so helpful.
Oh yeah. I've used the premium plan and I just love it.
Yes. And then you can set it to, which I definitely recommend, so that it doesn't take away when you exercise, it doesn't add more calories onto your plan, which is silly. So there's a button that you have to toggle that says, do not calculate my exercise, because then it just adds calories to that you can then lose, if that makes sense.
Plus you can track your water.
Yes, you can track water. You can do so much now. It has changed. Yes. And it gets really easy to add food. You can just scan a barcode. Scan a barcode. There's so much in the food library. I'm going to use my coconut water.
I don't think I've ever found a food that's not in their library.
Yeah, I don't think I have either.
The other apps like Lose It and I don't know, there's Carb Manager or something like that. Even Weight Watchers, it's very cumbersome, but this one's great.
Definitely. And it's so easy to make meal plans or like make a recipe, and then it like stores it. So every time you make the recipe, you can be like, oh yes, this was my tomato and fish and blah, blah, blah. So then you can just plug it in. You don't have to do it every single time.
And it'll pull up restaurant menus too.
Yes, which is so helpful. One thing that you're gonna need to start doing while, like, if you're really honing in and really practicing with your macros, is buying a food scale. Don't be scared. You also need to start doing it in grams. You can do it by
Oh,
ounces
dear.
and blah, blah. But just doing it with all the same number is so helpful. So we just found all your numbers in grams, right? So then trying to think in ounces gets a little crazy. So if you set your food scale to grams, it makes it so much easier.
Okay.
One thing that took me a long time to figure out, I've been doing this for years, but it was like, somebody should have told me this in the beginning. You can take a bowl, right? Set it on the scale and then zero it out
Yeah.
and then put the stuff in. Or you can take like a jar of pickles, right? Zero it out and take what you need out and measure it again. Do the math. It's like, why didn't I, instead of like putting each pickle on the scale? Yeah. Anyway, and you can also, if you make like huge meals, you can create it in MyFitnessPal. This is what I do all the time. Calculate everything, and then the serving, go to one serving. So then when you weigh everything, make it one serving. So then when you scoop it out or plate it and measure it, then it calculates it by whatever you put on your plate. You don't have to think about it like, okay, I have to feed, this may feed 4 people, and then divide it in 4 and put, you know what I mean? That gets so difficult. Did I just make you way confused? All right, does anybody have any questions?
Hey, April, this is Krista.
Hi, Krista.
I've been on since the beginning, but I had to change over to my computer because I couldn't get my phone to let you hear me.
Oh no.
So I had to run from one room to the next, and I missed a little bit on this slide number 5, so I'll just have to rewatch this to able to set my carbs, because I'm probably one of the lean people. I'm 5'7" and 128.
Okay.
But I do want to bulk up and not gain any more weight back.
So then you would want to find your maintenance. You would want to use your maintenance calories.
Okay.
And that is your TDEE. That first number that we found,
Right.
your maintenance. So whenever it says total calories, that's the number you're going to use.
Gotcha.
And I, for you, would eat more heavy on the protein side, especially if you're already lean.
Okay. Yeah, I've been on Weight Watchers for a couple of years because my husband's obese, and I thought, well, I'll do that to help support him.
Yep.
And I accidentally got down to 117 because I didn't know how to stop.
Oh no.
So I'm back now to a more healthy weight.
Oh, that's good. How are you feeling? Stronger in the workouts?
Oh yeah. Matter of fact, I mow the yard. I have about 2/3 of an acre that I mow with a push mower.
Uh-huh.
And yesterday I was swinging the mower around and I broke it.
Oh my goodness. So you're much stronger.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, good for you. Definitely rewatch this. I mean, I'm going to send the recording out to everybody so you can rewatch it as many times as you want. And I would do that again in a few, I would say every 2 months or something. Really go back and tweak your macros, maybe increase your protein. I usually always increase the protein on my clients. But also, if the whole equation seems super overwhelming to you and like puzzling it all together, just focus on the protein and the calories for a while. And then once you start hitting those really consistently and you've like nailed that protein, add in the other two. But you want to make this a sustainable change. And if you're feeling overwhelmed by all of it, then you're just going to give up. So if just hit the protein, that feels like a doable task for you, then definitely do that. That's how I work with my clients all the time. I'm like, okay, we're starting workouts and we're doing macros, and I don't want you to go, and implode. So calories and protein, that's your first beast. We will add on the carbs and the fat when you're ready. And by that point, we would probably increase the protein anyway, because we've worked out so much and they're getting used to that. Does all that make sense? All right, well, I'm all done with my presentation. Unless you guys have some questions, I'd love to answer anything you have to ask.
Martha, you're muted.
Thank you. I just loaded everything I ate today in MyFitnessPal.
Yeah.
58 grams of protein, 107 net carbs, 7 grams of fiber, and 68 grams of fat, for a total of 1,295 calories.
Well, you've got some protein.
And I'm stuffed. I'm stuffed after eating dinner. Of course, I didn't have that great a dinner, but to get to 2,000 calories, that's going to be a challenge.
Well, start slow. That's the other thing. Don't start like going from 1,200 to 2,000.
Okay.
Think of it like 100 every week.
Okay.
That feels like your body can adjust to that way more naturally than jumping. Wow, that's a huge jump.
Yeah.
Especially if you did, what was it, 1,200 for 8 years?
Yeah.
You're gonna
that's what my body wants. It doesn't want anymore.
Gradually increase that.
Okay.
And then also protein wise, you said you had 50.
It was only 58 grams.
So I would put tomorrow, your goal would be 65 to 70 grams of protein.
Okay.
Add 50 calories.
Okay. All right.
I know, it's such a fun experiment to be like, oh man, I thought I was doing well, or I thought I was eating so much protein. And normally it's just not.
I need to get back into my protein shakes or something to get more protein. I mean, at breakfast, I get usually 20 grams of protein.
Yep. So
it's the rest of the day that's shot.
Another goal for you, like once you realize or figure out your protein goal, divide it by 3 or 4, however many times you want to eat. So then you know, kind of like planning out your meal, a protein goal to hit every time you eat. Okay. And normally it's like 30 to 35 or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
And there are ways to hit that. You just have to get creative. Adding and yeah.
Some advice that I was given at once was like, when you're meal planning, pick 3 proteins and 3 fats for the day.
Yep.
So, and after that, the rest you do carbs. You know.
Yeah.
Give or take, but figure out your proteins first and your good fats first.
Yep. Yes. Yep, I would totally agree.
Do carbs, and that takes care of at least 3 of your maybe 4 or 5 meals that you have during the day.
Yep.
I'm full of good advice. I just have to do it now.
I know. It's so easy to talk about it.
I have to retrain my brain.
One thing that I say to add to a lot of people who are working out, meaning lifting weights, add collagen to your either there's collagen protein. I don't have anything next to me, but like the vital proteins, which is powder. I always add it to my coffee in the morning, and it's so helpful for your joints, keeping them really nice and lubricated while you're lifting, because we're, putting a lot of pressure on our joints. But collagen can also come from like a bone broth. So if it's cold weather time and you're like, I'd like to have coffee or hot chocolate, try having some bone broth instead. And that's 9 grams of protein in a cup that you can drink. That's bone
Okay.
broth. And otherwise, the vital proteins, 1 scoop is 10 grams of protein, and they recommend 2 scoops. So that's 20 grams of protein right there.
April,
So-
you mentioned this vital proteins.
Yep.
And you say you put it in coffee.
Yes.
I've never drank coffee or tea.
Okay. You can put it in water. You can
Okay.
add it to yogurt. You can add it to anything. It's unflavored, so it doesn't affect the taste of anything. And in your coffee, it doesn't add a texture. I don't know in a yogurt if it would, because I've never tried it, but it doesn't really add any sort of flavor
Okay.
unless you buy the flavor. I think there is a chocolate flavored one, but I've never tried it.
Is that on your Amazon page?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And that one in Vital Proteins, they come in to-go packs. So if you're traveling, you buy the to-go packs and just throw them in, which I think are super awesome.
So April, what do you suggest if tracking makes you anxious?
Okay, and it's so true. If
Yeah.
the sight of a scale makes you crazy, what I would start doing is
Not so much the scale, but the tracking, the
writing everything down.
Mhm.
Okay, so I would do it once or twice, like sit down and think about it, the tracking wise, and what your day would look like to hit an awesome day. This is what I talk about with my clients all the time. Plan out awesome day, what it looks like to hit everything, and it's great. So whenever the day comes up, think about your protein and if it's 4 ounces to hit your awesome day, that's a poem, right? Looking at so 3 ounces versus 4 ounces versus 5 ounces, just know what you need in order to hit a great day. And then you're not tracking, but you're getting in the realm of awesome. Yeah.
Okay.
And then your body starts to do it intuitively, because once you start seeing it, you're like, oh, that's 4 ounces of chicken. That's a cup of salad. You can use your fist and eventually get it down.
Okay. So then when you enter it, but you still enter it and you sort of wing it, or you assume that it's 6 ounces of chicken or however grams.
Yep. I mean, if you use your hand, you'll know if you've done it once or twice, you'll know by your hand, like visually what it looks like. You can also do look-alike options from a restaurant. Sometimes I do that for people who are not super excited about tracking. If you make a meal and it looks like something you could buy at a restaurant and you don't want to think about it, plug in the restaurant meal.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you were planning on talking about your how you work with clients.
Yep.
But it would be something like this. I mean, what do you do? WhatsApp? Do you do FaceTime, or how do you work with your clients?
That's a great question. So I do one-on-one, and we work through an app. It's called Trainerize. And I plan all their workouts through an app. You get form videos next to every move, and it's all personalized. So if you're like, I am a person who's super busy and all I have is 15 minutes, it could be 3 times a day I have 15 minutes. So then I create 15-minute workouts that you can do throughout the day. Or if you're like, I really depending on your goal, or if you have an injury, it's all super specific. And then within the app, it's just like MyFitnessPal, or you can use MyFitnessPal that integrates with Trainerize. I see you plug in your food and I see it exactly as it's coming in, so that if you have a question like, oh my gosh, I know I have 20 grams of protein left, what should I do? What is the best food for me at this point? And then we go through, I can offer you advice on that. So we have a messaging through the app.
Mhm.
And then our weekly check-ins aren't on Zoom, so we don't need to come up with a mutual time that works. You record a video to me, or actually you sign it. You write out a whole form, and then you record videos of you working out, doing your moves, and then I record back to you going through your form, any questions that you have, and then I make a video of any sort of corrections from your what you've turned in. And it's all on Loom. So basically it's asynchronous so that you don't have to feel like, oh my gosh, I have to set aside an hour of your time to talk to April when she's available, that kind of thing.
Okay.
But great.
Do you mind telling us how much you charge for that, or is that something that we should try privately with you?
No, sure. So it's $500 a month for, so if you want to pay monthly, it's $500 a month. But if you sign up for a 3-month contract, so there's 3, there's 6, and there's 12, then in paying in full, you pay less. So you'll pay $13.50 if you pay in full for 3 months. I have to remember this. I think it's
that's good enough.
Okay.
It's okay. Yeah. Okay. And what do you recommend? I mean, yeah, I mean, do you decide? I mean, do you recommend 3, 6, or 12 based on the goals of the person?
Yes. And usually it's, 6 months is a good, it's like magic doesn't happen in 3 months. There's not a lot that's like, you're just getting into it. You're like, oh gosh, I feel my form. The workouts are coming. I'm now getting comfortable with the macros. So then you're like, oh, okay, we're done. So I usually like 6 months is when you really start feeling and seeing the changes, if that makes sense.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? If you want, I can show you through Trainer Eyes, as long as I don't have anybody pulled up.
I do. I have a question about the fats,
Yeah.
because I'm pretty sure I'm not eating hardly any.
Oh no.
Well, not much.
We need some fats. What are you at? Have you tried or have you tracked to see what you're at?
No, I track using the Weight Watchers apps, and they assign points based upon an algorithm, I'm sure, that takes in sugar, fats, and proteins, carbs.
And so they don't want you to eat fats.
I didn't say that.
Oh, okay. You just don't think you're eating enough fat.
No, I'm sure I don't.
Oh my goodness. So once you start, it's going to feel like a little bit scary. But once you start introducing really good fats into your diet, your hair will be so much better. Your skin will be better. And then hormonally, things will click, which is a very interesting switch. But also your food tastes so much better and you don't need to eat a lot of it. It's like the French, right? When they put butter in everything and you're like, why is there so much butter? And then they eat that much of it. You know what I mean? So when it has so much flavor and it's you don't need a lot because it tastes so good and it's so savory and good. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I have lab work came back today and my cholesterol is high, so now I'm a little bit anxious.
Your cholesterol's high and you're not eating a lot of fats.
Yeah, I'm just perplexed.
That is. And maybe something is overcompensating.
Yeah, I go to the doctor next week for a physical, so
I would ask that question and find out. Maybe you're eating too high on the carbs.
yeah, it could be.
I would adjust. Yeah. In your macro equation, if you're really interested in starting that, adjust to a little bit more protein and take it down on the carbs. Is it like prepackaged meals with Weight Watchers?
Oh, no, not at all.
Okay, there's another one, right?
It's my own cooking.
Yeah, okay. Great. I know there's one that does like all prepackaged ones, and I'm like,
Yeah, Nutrisystem and
Yeah,
Jenny
that's it.
Craig and yeah.
ay, ay, ay. All right, so if we don't have any more questions, we can wrap this up. I really appreciate you guys all coming and having questions instead of me talking the whole time. So I hope you're enjoying the challenge, and I hope this has helped a different way in the challenge. And if you have any questions, make sure you can email me or ask in the Facebook group, and I would be happy to help.
Thank you so much.
All right, you guys have a great
Thank you
evening.
so much, April.
You're
Thanks,
welcome.
April.
Thanks,
Good night.
April.
Good
All
night.
right.
Hey, good
Bye-bye.
night.